All right, so for this deep dive, I think we should start with a specific case. Let's open the file on this one couple.
Okay.
Because their situation, I mean, it's just so representative of what so many people are going through.
A perfect example.
Exactly. So let's look at the ledger. She's in marketing, makes about $62,000 a year.
Yeah.
He's in IT, pulling in around $71,000.
So a very solid, professional pairing.
Absolutely. You do the math, and their combined household income is $133,000.
Wow.
Which, if you look at the census data, that puts them squarely in the top, quarter of American households. On paper, they have one.
Right. They checked every single box. College degrees,
Yeah.
good careers,
Check.
marriage, house in a nice neighborhood, the 2 cars. I mean, by any traditional metric, this is the American dream.
Which is why the reality of their day-to-day life is it's so confusing. Because if you actually look inside that house, they are not celebrating.
No, they're panicked.
They're panicked.
And that's the paradox we're really digging into today.
Yeah.
You're in the top quartile of earners, but you have almost no liquid savings.
I mean, the source mentioned their car broke down, transmission blew,
Right.
and they didn't write a check for the repair. They couldn't. It went on a credit card.
Because the cash just wasn't there.
And that's the core question here. I think it's a question a lot of you listening might be asking yourselves. It's, why do we make way too much money to feel this broke?
It feels like a personal failure, doesn't it? Like,
Oh,
I'm just bad with money, or I need to cut back on coffee.
Right.
But the sources we're diving into today, they argue it's not personal, it's structural. It's a phenomenon they call the 2-income trap.
The 2-income trap. It really does sound like a thriller, but it's an economic reality for millions.
It is.
So our mission today is to unpack that, to figure out why 2 full-time paychecks have, kind of counterintuitively, made families today more financially fragile than the single-income families of, say, the 1970s.
And more importantly, how you can get out of it. But to do that, you have to look back. You have to understand how the rules of the game have completely changed.
So let's do that. Let's rewind the clock. Paint me a picture of 1970. What was the middle class standard?
Well, the default model for the most part was the single earner household.
Right. One person works, typically the dad.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
And the mother would manage the home. Now, we have to be careful not to, over-romanticize this.
They weren't living large.
No, not at all. It wasn't luxurious. But, and this is the absolute key from the source material, that one single income was sufficient.
Sufficient to do what exactly?
Sufficient to cover the big things. The mortgage, the car, food, healthcare, all of it.
So it was stable.
It was stable. But there's a hidden economic asset in that 1970s model that we almost always forget about today.
What's that?
It's the non-working spouse. She wasn't just a homemaker. She was the family's economic safety net.
You mean like an insurance policy?
Exactly. Think of the stay-at-home parent as the household's reserve tank. If the main breadwinner got laid off in 1970 or got sick, or the economy just tanked,
The family had a huge card left to play.
a massive one, the other parent could enter the workforce.
Right. They could go get a job, even a part-time one, just to bridge the gap. It was an emergency lever.
It was a spare engine. The family wasn't operating at 100% capacity just to stay afloat. They had slack.
Okay, so now fast forward to today. To our couple, the marketing manager, and the IT guy. What's their situation?
Their backup plan is now their default plan. Both of them are already working full-time just to cover the basic monthly bills.
That spare engine?
He's already running at full throttle, redlining even.
So if one of them loses a job.
There's no one left to send into the fight. You are already fully deployed.
But this is where the logic feels a little weird, right? I mean, we have 2 incomes now, 2 separate streams of money. Shouldn't that make us twice as wealthy?
Yeah.
Where did all that extra cash go?
This is what the source calls the illusion of wealth. It seems so logical. If one $50,000 salary could run a household back then, 2 should mean we have 50 grand in the bank every year.
But that assumes all the costs stayed the same.
And they didn't. Not even close. It's the absorption effect.
Yeah.
The economy basically saw that second income coming and just absorbed it.
By raising prices.
On the big things, the fixed costs, housing, healthcare, education, they all just exploded. Housing in particular basically doubled relative to a person's income.
And that's a direct result of the 2-income world, isn't it? Because if every family trying to buy a house in that good school district suddenly has 2 incomes.
They all bid against each other. And the price of the house goes up until it consumes both of those incomes.
So you're not getting a better house than your parents. You're just paying 2 salaries for the same spot in the middle class that 1 salary used to buy.
Precisely. And that's before you add the brand new costs.
Things that literally weren't in the budget in the 1970s.
Childcare is the absolute monster. It's a second mortgage payment for many families. In the old model, childcare was, in cash terms, free. It was provided by the stay-at-home parent.
Now it's thousands of dollars a month.
And you add that to college tuition that's gone to the moon, healthcare costs.
So that extra income from the second earner isn't extra at all. It's just the new mandatory cost of entry.
Exactly. And this brings us to what is, I think, the most shocking statistic in all the research.
Yeah, this one it's a tough one. It comes from Elizabeth Warren's academic work, right? Way before she was a politician.
That's right. As a bankruptcy researcher.
And the stat is that dual-income households today are actually more likely to file for bankruptcy than single-income households.
Significantly more likely. It feels completely backwards.
How is that even possible? You have 2 income streams. You're diversified. If one person gets laid off, you still have half your income. A single-earner family loses 100%. The 2-income family should be safer.
You'd think so. But it all comes down to one thing, margin of error.
Okay, explain that.
The single-income family, back then, had relatively low fixed costs compared to their potential earning power. They had that emergency lever we talked about.
The spare engine.
Right. The modern dual-income family has locked themselves into massive fixed costs. The mortgage, the 2 car payments, the daycare that require both paychecks.
They've built a life that requires 100% uptime from 2 people.
Yes. So if the marketing manager loses her job, they don't just lose some extra savings money. They immediately lose the ability to pay the mortgage.
One person gets sick. It's a crisis.
One person has to take a few months off to care for an aging parent.
Total crisis. It's fragility that looks like prosperity.
That is the perfect phrase for it. The cash flow looks amazing, so they look rich. But they're incredibly fragile because their expenses are exactly equal to their income.
I really want to get into the nuts and bolts of this, the actual math, because I'm sure someone listening is thinking, come on, a second salary of 50 or 60 grand can't just disappear.
Well, let's follow the money. The source does a great job breaking down what it calls the math of the disappearing second income.
Okay, let's use a scenario. Partner A makes $70,000.
And partner B makes $50,000.
So combined, $120,000. Big number.
A very big number. But let's just look at partner B's $50,000. The very first thing that hits it is taxes. And this is critical.
What?
Because it's the second income. It's stacked on top of the first $70,000. So it gets taxed at the highest marginal rate the family pays.
Right. The first dollar you earn is taxed at a low rate. Your $120,000 is taxed at a much higher rate.
Exactly. So that $50,000 gross salary, after all the taxes, federal, state payroll, it might only be, say, $33,000 in your hand.
Okay, so we're down to $33K. Still, that's real money.
It is. Now, do they have kids?
Let's give them 2.
Okay. The source cites average childcare costs at about $15,000 per child per year.
So for 2 kids, that's $30,000. Wait, hold on. We started with $33,000 take home. We just spent $30,000 on daycare.
We have $3,000 left for the year.
From a $50,000 job.
And we haven't even paid for the costs of getting to that job yet. The second car, the gas, the insurance, the work clothes, maybe parking.
And then there's this concept that really hit me. The source calls it exhaustion spending.
Oh, that's the hidden tax on being a modern working parent.
It's the money you spend simply because you are too burnt out to save it.
100%. When both parents are working 50-hour weeks, who have time to cook every meal from scratch?
Nobody. So you order takeout, you get DoorDash.
You don't have time to deep clean the house, so you hire a cleaner. You feel guilty. You're not seeing the kids enough, so you buy them more stuff.
It's the convenience tax. You're just trying to buy back little pieces of your time and sanity.
And when you add all that up, the high taxes, the childcare, the second car, the exhaustion spending.
That $50,000 second income is suddenly worth what?
The source argues that for a huge number of families, that second earner is working for just a few dollars an hour. Or in some cases,
Negative dollars.
it can actually cost the family money for that person to go to work.
That is a terrifying thought. You're dealing with all the stress, the commute, the boss, for nothing, or less than nothing.
But, and here's the essence of the track, Trap families don't make their big financial decisions based on that net reality.
No, they fall for the gross income fallacy.
They look at that big number, the $120,000 figure.
And more importantly, the bank looks at that number.
Right. When you go to get a mortgage, the loan officer qualifies you based on your gross combined income.
And they say, congratulations, you can afford this huge 4-bedroom house.
And you buy it. You lock in a 30-year fixed cost based on a number that was never really real to begin with.
So the trap isn't buying lattes. The trap is committing every single dollar you earn to fixed costs before you even have a chance to save it.
Yes. They're not being irresponsible in the way we usually think about it. They're just following the rules of the system. But in doing so, they've engineered all the slack, all the margin out of their lives.
It's like that plane we talked about. It needs both engines at full power just to stay in the air. If one of them even sputters.
You don't glide, you fall.
This is heavy stuff. I'm sure some people listening are doing the math for their own lives right now and feeling a bit of a panic.
It can definitely be a wake-up call.
So let's pivot. Let's talk about the solution. How do we escape the trap?
Well, the source material is very clear that there is a way out. But I have to warn you, it requires a pretty fundamental shift in thinking. It's not a small tweak.
This is the one income rule.
The one income rule. The core idea is this. You have to structure your major fixed expenses, your housing, your cars, your core bills, so they can be covered entirely by just one of your incomes.
Specifically the higher of the two incomes.
Yes, ideally the higher and more stable of the two.
Okay, let's go back to our couple. 71K and 62K. You're saying their entire lifestyle, the mortgage, everything, needs to fit inside that $71,000 salary.
That is the goal.
Wow. I mean, that's a radical shift. That almost certainly means they can't afford the house they're in right now.
Almost certainly. And that's the really difficult trade-off that the source points to. It means you have to intentionally live far below what the world tells you your means are.
It means buying the smaller house, the one you drive past on your way to the one the bank approved you for.
It means driving an older car. It means consciously resisting lifestyle inflation when you get a raise.
It means you might look poorer than your coworkers who make the exact same amount of money.
You will. But let's look at what you get for that trade. This is the payoff. If all your mandatory bills are covered by that 71K, what happens to the other 62,000?
It becomes pure surplus.
It becomes rocket fuel for your finances. It stops being survival money and it becomes wealth building money.
Because you don't need it to keep the lights on.
Exactly. So you can point 100% of that second paycheck after taxes directly at your goals. Savings, investments, paying off the mortgage in 7 years instead of 30.
You completely rebuild that emergency lever. If the person with the second income gets laid off...
It's an annoyance. It's not a catastrophe. The mortgage gets paid, the lights stay on, you've removed the fragility.
It must also totally change your relationship with your job if you don't need that second paycheck to survive.
You have power. You can walk away from a toxic workplace. You can take a risk on a new career. You can take time off to be with a new baby.
That's resilience. That's real freedom.
And that's the redefinition of success the source proposes. Real wealth isn't the size of your income. It's the size of your options. It's how many choices you can make without inducing panic.
There's a quote in there, you can't escape a trap you don't see.
That's it. The first step is just realizing that what we think of as the normal American middle-class life is actually a very high-risk financial strategy.
So the goal is to decouple your lifestyle from your combined income.
Perfectly said. Use one income to live and use the second income to buy your freedom.
That's a powerful way to frame it. It's not about restriction. It's about buying back your own life.
The people who win this game aren't the ones with the biggest gross income. They're the ones with the widest possible gap between what they earn and what they have to spend.
That gap is your margin. That's where your peace of mind is.
Absolutely.
I want to end by leaving our listeners with one final kind of provocative thought experiment from the source.
The survival test.
A survival test. And the question is simple. If you and your partner both lost your jobs tomorrow morning, how long could you survive?
And not, how long until you have to cancel streaming services?
No. How long until the foreclosure notice arrives?
Yeah.
How long until the car gets repossessed?
If the answer to that question is a month or maybe 2, then it doesn't matter if your combined income is $200,000 a year. You're in the trap.
But if you can build a life where that answer is a year or indefinitely,
that is what real wealth feels like.
A huge thanks to the researchers and authors who first brought this idea to light. And thank you for listening.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.